What is up? I'm Daniel. Welcome back to my shop. Today, aside from the deck building across the street, we're going to be turning this piece of walnut that I've had sitting in my shop for several weeks now into some charcuterie boards, serving trays, cutting boards, whatever you want to call them. Anyway, let's get started. If I was a real woodworker, I'd use a draw knife to clean up this bark edge. Bark edge? No, live edge. Okay, so if I was a real woodworker, I would clean up the live edge with a draw knife. But because I'm not, according to TikTok, I'm just gonna use a beater chisel and a mallet. And then, I tricked my cameraman. And then, after we get most of the bark off, we'll switch over to a grinder. Over the top. Just like real life. Sorry, honey, I'm done. That's it. All right, next up, I want to cut this in the middle somewhere, roughly. And that way we'll have two boards. Let's go. So I'm just going to use the miter saw to chop this into two different boards. And of course, we're going to use dust collection because last time I got a few comments about not using dust collection. So this board has pith, which is the exact center of the tree, right in the middle of the board on both sides, and that creates a pretty unstable piece of wood, so we want to get rid of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to the bandsaw because this is the safest method to do it, and I'm going to cut this right down the middle, and we're going to try to get rid of that pith, and then we're going to put it back together. Okay, so I want to try my best to cut it right down the pith. So I'm going to mark both ends, and I should have been more ready. I'll use this. I just need some sort of a reference line on where the pith is. It's not going to be perfectly straight, but at least I'll get in the vicinity. So I marked them so that I know which board goes with which, and now we're going to take them over to the jointer and make a nice flat edge on either side and one flat reference surface. Let's go. All right, so we're going to run these pieces through the jointer real quick to give us a flat face and a square edge. Oh, we're going to turn on the dust collector. I got the remote right here. So I put these on my table saw to see if they lined up well. If they're perfectly flat and square, there should be no gap here. And I see a gap, so checking the squareness. That one's good. That one's off. So, and I'm also going to check my joints here to make sure that that's still good. There's your problem. It's not square. Oh, that get knocked out of square. Great! How long have I been dealing with that? One. That's probably better. My angle. Time to recheck it. Much better. It pays to check your machines every now and then. So if you see something is off, fix it right away. Don't just deal with it. Man, that is a pretty piece of wood. That is going to look beautiful when we get it finished. Alright, now we're going to glue them up, and for this I'm going to use Titebond Speed Set because it dries faster. Tangy. Nobody makes a better glue brush than you. Use your fingers. Unless you lost your fingers in a horrible accident, then I apologize. When these are cured, we're going to run them through the drum sander to re-flatten them one more time. So if you look here, you can see how seamless that is after we put it back together. There's a tiny seam, but if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to see it. All right, now that we have them nice and flat and seamless, you know how I know they're flat? Listen, that's a beautiful sound. That's the sound of flatness. Anyway, now that they're flat, and we're going to turn them into charcuterie boards. Yeah, I said that right on the first try. I want to find some sort of handle design. Now, I know everybody doesn't have a CNC, and you could just draw this out with your hand and cut it out with a jigsaw, but I'm fortunate enough that I have a CNC, so I'm going to look for some patterns online somewhere that I like, and then we're going to use that to make a handle. I came from the mud. So normally I would use my clamps, but instead of using the clamps, I think I'm just going to tack it down with so normally I would hold this down with my clamps, but I think for this one I'm just going to tack it down with a pin nailer. Good enough. I need to switch out my bit from this 1/8 inch bit to my 1/4 inch compression bit. Make sure that's nice and tight. Don't break your knuckles off. There we go. And then we gotta zero it to the piece. I just eyeball this. We're not making intricate parts that need to be within 1/1000th of an inch. There we go. Zero the machine. And we're ready to go.
Strong like a tree, there's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law.
I don't know if it's gonna be big enough. That's what she said. Look, it's not the size that matters, okay? I can't believe I did that. I mean, it needs to be at least 6 inches, right? That's what she tells me. There's so many jokes we could drop here. There's just, I'm 12, still mentally. Well, that's not gonna work. That's what she said. God dang it. Aha! Use what you got. There we go. Allen wrench. Nail punch. Round 2. Fight!
Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the moon.
I think that's a much more realistic handle. Let's do it. But let's compare that to you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about. I'm 12. All right. That is at least much better. But I'm still, it's giving me giraffe vibes, so I might shorten the neck a little bit manually. All right, now that we got it set, we're just gonna give it a mark so we know where it is, where we liked it. And we're gonna take this to the bandsaw and rough cut it out. I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached. Is it in my pocket? It's not in my pocket. You know, all the walking around I'm doing looking for the remote for the dust collector, I could just as easily walk over the dust collector and hit the on button. I think that's what I'll do. So as you can see, I cut that out very roughly, which is exactly what I wanted to do. We're going to double tape that template back on here and take this to the router table and flush trim it. And it'll come out mint. One of these days, maybe I can have enough money for a sponsorship. Hi, Jessam. To have an automatic up and down router table. Until then, I dream. Anyway, we got to take this bit out. That was sharp. And we're going from a 1/4 inch shank to a 1/2 inch shank, so I also have to change the collet. And now we're gonna do a mega flush trim bit from Infinity Tools. All right, so now we need to move that for the time being. We need to attach this to the board, and I'm gonna use double-sided tape. I really like the X-Fasten brand. The woodworking double-sided tape, it's fantastic. And I typically go overboard because, well, you just want it to not lose its stickiness. Yeah, stickiness. Alright, so we're going to flush trim this, like I said before. We're going to use the starter pin. This helps prevent kickback. Don't ask me how I know.
They won't shoot me down, son. They say no to sleepless night. Will you find me? Hope you find me.
To give you an idea of how well this double-sided tape works, it's a real pain in the ass to pull off of there. It works really well. And there we go. There's the rough shape. I need to trim that off a little bit, but not a bad looking board, eh? I like the sapwood. Look at this, I found a use for the tiny handle. It'll work as a shim. There we go. We just need to trim this off.
Will you find me? Hope you find me.
This is how I make sure that it's nice and flush with the table. And then I back it off just a little bit. It'll give me a little hairline lip, but that'll be taken care of in the sanding process.
When the sunrise, when the sun
looks good. Bam! That looks pretty good, if I do say so myself. All right, sanding time. We're gonna start with 80, work our way up to 180. Really going anything farther than 180 is kind of overkill, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. What do I know? Yeah, the board's under my armpit. It's clean. It's fine. Don't you worry about it. Bro, you know what? You know what I think? It's done. She's ready for oil. So for the oiling, we're going to use the Wally Sauce cutting board oil. I love this stuff. Woo. What's that remind you of? There's a party I went to in the 90s that was very reminiscent of that. Anywho, we're going to just jump in. We're going to raw dog this. Make sure you get it in the hole nice and good. We're gonna flip her around. Start with your hands, move on to the Scotch-Brite pad. Make sure it's in the hole. Oh yeah. Make sure you get every edge nice and covered. We're gonna let that sit for 15 minutes or so, and we're gonna come back and wipe off the excess. Alrighty, time to wipe off the excess. I am very much aware that I need new sawhorses, okay? Tell me about it in the comments. And here we go. I think it turned out really well. It looks very nice, feels amazing. Like I said, you don't necessarily need a CNC to make your handle. You can rough cut it. Be creative. I'm not creative, so I let other people create for me sometimes. In the meantime, be kind to one another. Subscribe. Nope. God dang it. That guy's staring at us. All right. Are you recording? Mm-hmm. All right. And there we go. I think this board is, quite honestly, I think this might be the most beautiful charcuterie board I've ever made. What do you think, Isaiah?
Love it.
All right, so that's a wrap. And like I said earlier, you don't necessarily need a CNC to make your own handle template. You really don't even need a template. You can just rough cut it with a jigsaw or a bandsaw, or you know, you could hack at it with a handsaw. That would be terrible. Regardless, just be creative. Do your own thing. If you like what you saw, I would appreciate a subscribe. Maybe leave a comment. You know, you can comment whatever you want. Give me your grandma's cookie recipe. I could definitely use that. In the meantime, catch you on the next one. Be kind to one another.